What's up, everybody? How's it going? Good to see you. As always, Andrew Esquire. This is the Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. It is 7 p.m. over here in Bangkok. Of course, it's 8. It should be 8 in the morning over there, Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. And I'm glad to be here. Welcome to the Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. And I am Andrew Esquire, Florida attorney, the most based Florida attorney. And we're here live this evening to have a nice, good chat with all of y'all. Good to see everybody in the house. What's up, everybody who's here today? All the members. Shout out to my mods first and foremost. Don Baca, Danielle, thank you so much. Also got a lot of members. King of Diet Coke, what's up? Good to see you. Dropping the quick super chat today. Storm Crow. Who else we got up in here? Don Baca, got you earlier. Let's see who else we got in the house. So good to see all the people that are here. Not bright and early. 88 of you already in the chat, so make sure you smash the like button, share this out, because you know that YouTube is still kind of shadow banning us. I think we may have finally broken out of it with our last video and broken out of the shadow ban. But yeah, when you start talking spicy stuff, it gets that way. Let's go, Brandon. So I feel like the only responsible thing to do is mod me. Only if you promise to never use your powers. Brandon, only if you promise to never use your powers. That's the only way. That's the only way I mod you. All right. Let's see. $5 super chat from King of Diet Coke. Can't stay for today's stream. We'll check it out later. Keep the good work. Hey, good to see you in the chat, checking through, dropping a super on your way through. That's literally what we do. That's important. It's important for what we do. Yes, and of course, we'll be getting into it today. We're going to first probably do do a discussion of the case. I think we'll start with the case because some people may have caught my last video and I want to do some responses, so do a little bit of case update. And then we'll see if we get a visit from our good hombre Mexican Iron Man or any of the other guys I invited to the stream. We'll get into Netflix versus Disney, and which one people think will win in the long run, what people think. I'll do, throw out some polls, what you guys think will be around in the long run. But good to see everybody here today. So let's jump right into it with the actual case, because this is something that, look, I've been kind of on top of, and I know there's finally something to talk about. So I'm like, yes, this is very substantial. I'm not going to make every video every week about the case because there's not that many updates, right? You can cover a lot of different things that are going on in Disney, but the case only has so many updates. And yes, there's two cases. There's a state case against Disney and there's a federal case against Disney. So there's two separate cases against Disney. So there was an update in the state case, but this is going to impact the federal case. So a lot of people were asking me, hey, Andrew, can you talk specifically about the impact of the federal case, specifically about the timeline? We're going to talk about that today. All right, Brandon. You don't have time to mod. Perfect. Okay, so you will be added. You will be added as a mod since you don't have time to mod. All right, there we go. I bestow the powers upon you. All right. 7 a.m. on a Sunday. Hey, listen, you got to get ready. You got to be prepared for it. You never know when it's coming. So let's start here with the court case. So obviously, if you guys read my breakdown, my analytics of this entire complaint, you guys can see that in my other videos. The video that I posted a little bit earlier, it's a standalone video, like 15 minutes, and it really breaks down the rationale here for denying Disney's motion to dismiss, and why that's correct under Florida law, why that's what I predicted and what I called out, exactly what I called out for exactly the reasons that I called out, which is just essentially that this is state law. So you can go through and get that analysis. But what I want to focus on and really drill down on is the argument that's going to bleed over into the federal case, and why this is going to why and how this is going to impact the federal case. Marco Reality, welcome to the BLM. Welcome to the Based Legal mindset. You're now a member of the RPG, the Replay Gang. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Also, King of Diet Coke. I just saw on the back end, you gifted 20 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, guys. Make sure you are accepting the Legal Mindset memberships. King of Diet Coke also went through and said, War of the Wokes. Yes, yes, very much. So hail BLM, hail BLM, hail RPG. Good to see everybody else in the chat. All right, and then the super chat here is from Mexican Iron Man. It says, just woke up, getting coffee con tequila. I added that. Let me know what time you want the brown dude to show up. Yeah, dude, if you could show up maybe 15 minutes or so, I think we can rock and roll. We can really talk about this and do that. So, yeah, pour that Casamigos in your cup and get ready to go. Remember, Mark Arriati said, I thought I was already a member. The heck? Here's the thing, guys, about the memberships. You sometimes have to manually update it. YouTube is being really weird. They're not automatically updating it or keeping you around or whatever else. So just make sure that, hey, if you remember, maybe you subscribe and or just check and make sure you're still subscribed. Yeah, it's really weird. They do that sometimes with different platforms. Could be a credit card thing, could be a update, could be they just don't want me to make any money. All right, so, and hail Frank Hernandez. Thank you. And hail all of the based legal mindset. So let's jump into this argument. This is the argument that pertains to the federal case. So when we talk about, okay, how is the state case related to the federal case, right? Because this is the state case. This is the Orange County, Florida state case where the district, the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, is suing Disney. So this is the district filing in court aggressively as the plaintiff against Disney to prove their backdoor deals were illegal and void from the start. So therefore, they were never valid agreements. And the entire basis for their federal complaint, except for one possible cause of action. So out of all the causes of action in the federal complaint, all of them, but maybe one, are hinged upon these contracts. So if they're not legitimate, they can't enforce them. Therefore, their federal contract goes away. So the judge says right here that Disney is not entitled to go forward with the federal case at the same time as the state case because this is state law. This is an obvious issue of state law. Anybody who knows anything about state law knows that this is state law. It's like the most quintessential thing. If you ask an attorney what type of law is very much state law, they'll say property law. Property law is quintessentially state law. Also quintessentially state law is state statutes, and this is dealing with multiple state statutes, and these agreements were formed under state statutes. That is, laws that were passed by the legislature. And when it's state-specific law, it's not appropriate for a federal court to be looking at it. And when the parties are two Florida parties, why is the federal court involved in this? They should not be. They drummed up some fake constitutional claims, some BS arguments in order to get them into federal court because they thought they might have a more friendly judge. They thought they might have a biased judge. And by the way, the case was initially assigned to a biased judge, Judge Walker. It was only after a while that he recused himself, stepped out of that, and it got handed to what appears to be a fairly unbiased judge in the federal case now. But the state court went and said conclusively that this is something where state law applies. See, right here, it says federal courts are of limited original subject matter jurisdiction and only to federal question and diversity jurisdiction. Thus, the federal court's jurisdiction would be concurrent with this court's jurisdiction only if the claims arose under federal law or if the district and Disney were citizens of different states. Neither is true. Disney's claims arise solely under Florida state law. And both the district and Disney are citizens of Florida. This is what I have been saying forever, and the judge is saying it. And what this means is the federal court is going to have to look at this because the federal court has to look at this and say, okay, is it state or is it federal? Well, the state thinks it's a state claim, and the state's going forward. So therefore, the only action for them to do is to stay the case at the federal level, at least stay it in the majority of the counts which apply to these agreements. There's one count One single count, the First Amendment claim directly from DeSantis to DeSantis against Disney. It's the weakest of their arguments. It's one that's likely to be thrown out altogether. They might not even have standing to bring that one. And that weakest of claims, yeah, technically that could go forward, but you'd probably want to wait on the whole thing, on the whole complaint. So it's possible it could go forward. It'd be really weird. It'd be more likely to be stayed or dismissed with prejudice, which is, I think, what we've been saying all along. Now, what is the timing on that? When would the federal court come up and stay the case or dismiss it with prejudice? Well, the next 60 days. So we'll see within the next 60 days whether or not this case is delayed, how long it's delayed for, what it's delayed for. Do we have a Florida lawyer on standby? Yes, that would be me. And by the way, for all the procedural fuckery I have questions on, because people like that as the thing here, I go to my good friend Stephen Gosney, who is still an active attorney down there in Florida, writing about a book every 2 minutes on Florida law. But absolutely appreciate his thoughts on this as well. So Steve Goss has been backing me up on the litigation procedure and stuff like that. But I mean, in terms of the fundamental state law, particularly the property law and the statutory law, yeah, we got this. We got this. So the important thing is that they need to go to state court to figure this out. There's no way to do this in federal court. So it says right here, the federal court thus lacks concurrent jurisdiction over the state's claims, and so it be an abuse of discretion for them to grant a stay. This is making a conclusion. So you're going to see the federal court bend the knee. That's what I have in terms of an update for this. You're going to see that soon. So in terms of a timeline, what are we going to see? Well, we're going to see discovery start. We're going to see discovery start on this case. So you're going to see them going through their records, right? So you're going to see Disney's emails opened up. That's going to be scary to Disney. You're also going to see, different production requests. You're going to see kind of setting for preliminary hearings. So there's going to be stuff going on, but it's going to be related to discovery in the state case because we're past the motion to dismiss phase. In the federal case, the separate federal case, you're going to see them ruling on that motion to dismiss, the motion to stay. There's also a motion to remove parties, to remove Ron DeSantis as a party. So that's something that will come up within the next 60 days. So we'll get updates on that very soon, very soon. Mark of Reality said, if you need a Florida criminal attorney, I'm your guy. Well, hey, I may be hitting you up, Mark of Reality, particularly in the future when we cover Boone or Courtney Clenny, those cases. I will definitely hit you up for that because I will be covering those ear to ear. Ear to ear. And shout out to all those who like this. And by the way, if you guys have any questions, let me know on the case. Are you confused at all on this? Do you have anything you want to know specifically about the Disney cases? Anything to get into? Any other elements that you want me to do a deep dive on? I guarantee you that as they explore, as they go deeper and deeper in terms of discovery in the state case, this is going to look worse and worse for Disney. Now, the judge themselves did say, in terms of total timeline, that this case can take 2 or 3 years. So just to be very clear, this is something that can take up to 2 or 3 years. So anybody who thinks these cases are going to move fast or these cases are going to be done tomorrow, yeah, that's not really a thing. That's not really a thing. All right, before we go and move on to the next segment here, I'm going to drop a little link on Twitter. So make sure we're talking and get that out there for everybody. We're at 269 right now in the chat. So if you guys can smash that like button, that would be much, much, much appreciated. And also shout out to everybody who's over there on my legalmindset.locals.com. Danielle, Brandon, I see a couple others popping in and kind of lurking. Good to see y'all as well. Give me a 2-minute breakdown of the timeline from the start of the DeSantis stuff to now to Disney. 2 minute? You want a 2-minute update, Avix? You want a 2-minute timeline? That would be so summarizing, it'd be ridiculous. So, well, first of all, if you want a 2-minute timeline, here's where you start. Disney starts losing money. Actually, no. In order to do it in 2 minutes, I'm going to call in the ultimate 2-minute man. And that is my good friend, Mexican Iron Man.
What the hell? 2 minutes? What does that mean?
That means you can mow a lawn in 2 minutes. You're very efficient.
Yes,
you're very efficient, Mike.
Here's what I do. I make a phone call and then I book an appointment. That's how I get my lawn mowed in like 2 minutes or less here on Hilton Head. Let's just say this. I am actually thinking about doing a lawnmower stream. There's a video game, like as a joke. As a joke, me and my buddy if the Disney stock, I've said this for about 3 months now.
What are we at right now?
That stock gets into the $84 range or lower and closes
79.
$84.99 or lower, then I will break my word about being a YouTuber and I will go live on my own channel.
I mean, there's 86.8613 right now. Oh boy. I mean, it's just like when you look at that.
Somebody is propping this stock up because if you look
you think so?
I'm absolutely convinced of it because I am a Disney stockholder. No financial advice on this channel. Don't take anything.
Yeah, no financial advice. This is purely legal, purely speculative, purely us fucking shooting the shit about something we know nothing about. Go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. That being said, full disclosure, I am a Disney stockholder. I have been for ages. And, you know, I watch the trades. And what happens is that it seems like just when it starts to hover in the 8501 to 8575, someone comes in and buys blocks and
look at how they try to shill it here.
Someone is shilling it.
2 days ago, 1 day, 2 days ago, 1 day ago, are the dog days over for Disney? Buy Disney stock, the magic will return. You know, this is obviously like it's obvious. Should you consider selling your Disney stock? Obviously, the answer is no. I just like the quick Google search because it tells you what the shills are going for, right? You know, like it's very, very interesting. Now, of course, you go down 3 weeks ago, you see here, shockingly empty, woke backlash, you know, that sort of stuff. But you see down here, the mouse is ready to rise again. That's seeking alpha. So you see where the mainstream guys are in terms of this.
Mainstream shills. But meanwhile, the Wall Street Journal drops an editorial a week ago Sunday that a good buddy of mine that works in Burbank told me that they knew it was coming, but they couldn't stop it from coming out, but they tried.
They did.
Very, very good. Yeah, very good friend of mine. Very good friend of mine. I've known him since 2005. He's been at Disney more than a decade. And wow. Yeah, he told me that he's just a friend. He's not like a YouTuber, you know, type of guy. Right. He's just an accounting nerd that, you know, I'd known from the CPA Association.
So what do you think about that? So when the earnings report comes out and the PE ratio skyrockets, this is when the earnings report comes out, the PE is going to skyrocket. That stock is trash. What do you think about that?
Well, the price to earnings ratio has been trash for a while, frankly. I mean, you take a look at a company like Comcast that's got $30 to $40 billion more market cap than Disney does, yet the Comcast stock is finally in the 40s, hovered in the 30s for a long time, and then you have Disney with you know, it's just baffling to me how the guys at I did the Comcast earnings call live with Valiant and Pro and the boys the other day, and I still see the big problem with Comcast is those leaders. It's something you talk about all the time about what the Disney leadership's able to do versus what Comcast. If I was in charge of Comcast, I would have gotten on that call and I would have said, Comcast through our amusement parks, our movies, and through our entertainment is poised to be the global leader in family entertainment. Boom, lock, stop, you know, launch the missile, drop the mic, you know, UFC, get in the face of Disney. But, you know, these are cable guys, so they're more likely like, gee, last quarter we delivered so many gigabits of data and our subscriber RPU numbers increased by 13 point.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, I mean, Disney, they know how to spin shit. They know how to spin shit into silk.
There you go. Brandon's offering, just tell me what you want in the earnings note.
That's funny.
Oh, great. These guys are a bunch of woke cucks.
Oh, wait, I got a show for one of the channels I'm on. Hold on.
Go ahead. Midnight's Edge, yes. Good supporter of Tom. Actually, you know what? Is Tom awake right now? Would Tom be awake right now?
Well, he's either still awake from being up all night or he just went to bed 2 hours ago.
Right. It's like one or the other way. It's like you're still up and you're like, well, I haven't gone to sleep yet.
Well,
so
he does Flashcast on Saturdays, and that goes
okay. That'll definitely get you.
Yeah, ping him, see if he's up.
Yeah, I'll ping them. I mean, it's always funny because there's a weird niche of people that are up early in the morning. And I like to try to catch those guys really early in the
Mexicans.
morning. I mean, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, what's wrong
I,
with
I I
that?
don't like staying up at night. Like any live stream, I just don't live stream after 9 or 10 o'clock at night if I can avoid it. I only live stream that late one night a week as a
Yeah, no,
guest.
I end up that late because that's some of my that's some of my, like, if I ever want to do an AM stream or whatever, I end up getting in later if I'm doing the cases, right? So last week I covered the Shabusiness case, Taylor Shabusiness case.
That was great
That
coverage.
Thank you so
Hilarious.
much.
You were
Uh,
you
but-
were you were you. I'm like, how is he gonna stream over one stream, let alone homeboys? Andrew Legal Mind says no. I'm gonna do all of them at the same time.
I'm going to give you the best of all of them. I'm going to literally put commentary on their commentary on their commentary, which is what they do, which is what we do over here. So, okay, Afix wanted a 2-minute Disney catch up. Okay, I'm going to give you a 2-minute. This is like super abbreviated. Disney starts being woke. Okay, so point A, Disney starts being woke. They start making bad movies. They start losing a lot of money. Disney starts getting pushback for their wokeness in Florida on many levels by many people. Disney decides to become openly political and straight up drop funding for one side of the political aisle. Finally, their district comes under scrutiny, and along with 6 other districts in Florida, they say they will sunset this governmental district, which technically is not Disney, is completely separate from Disney, and should have nothing to do directly with Disney. If they did, and if it was Disney, well, then they would have committed securities fraud. There'd be a whole bunch of other issues, contractual issues, legal issues, state crimes they committed. So this district, right, is set to be disbanded. Fast forward, Bob Iger takes over for Bob Chapek. The new news comes out that there's a woke revolt within Disney, right? So there's a revolt within Disney. The California employees do not want to come over to Florida, right? They realize, hey, we're going to have to pull the trigger on this Comcast deal with Hulu because they're going to exercise their option, and we have to buy, have to buy. So they realize they need money. Iger comes in when he takes over from Chapek, and he says, hey, look, we're going to have to cut $5 billion, correct? Mexican Iron Man, about $5 billion, $2.5 billion of which has to be non-content cuts. So we've got to make giant cuts, half of which has to be real cuts, not fake cuts. So as in things that we're supposed to do in the future that we're no longer going to do, but actual people have to get fired on this. We have to pull back money. We have to cancel projects. So they are looking at things to pull back on. In the midst of that, their district is actually restored in the sense that they're going to transition the district from Reedy Creek to the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District. That actually happens, but at the last minute, with improper notice, no consideration, no warning, Disney enters into these shady backroom deals, which they do not properly notice or follow through with under Florida law. These deals give them all the power of the government, effectively making Disney into a full government with government powers. Well, at least if they got their way and if what they did was legal. Turns out it isn't. The new district comes in, finds out about it, is initially shocked. Disney claims victory, dances around. The shill media gets behind Disney, immediately talks about Disney owning DeSantis, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, I, on this channel, and my people like Mexican Iron Man, talk about it, and we tell you there's no way in hell that this is going to be allowed to happen, that this is going to allowed to go down, and there will be lawsuits over this. Disney ends up filing first. They end up filing in federal court because corporations can usually work faster than a government. So they file in federal court hoping to get a woke federal judge. And indeed, they are assigned a woke federal judge, a judge who hates Ron DeSantis and hates everything Republican, and has called on the record this as an example of retaliation against a corporation, despite the fact that there's no actual corporation that's been changed or really directly damaged at all in this. And amidst this, of course, they also pull back on their Lake Nona project and their Star Wars Galactic Cruiser. The state files a state case in the Florida State Courts, which is the proper venue, and it is just the district versus Disney, no DeSantis. DeSantis is kept to the federal case. And of course, that brings us to where we are today. Disney tried to dismiss the state case. The district and Ron DeSantis want to dismiss the federal case. So now it looks like the federal case is the one that will be dismissed, which is proper, which is what I've been saying in the first place, and which will be good news for DeSantis, good news for the district, good news for the state of Florida, and bad news for the rat. A little bit more than 2 minutes, but I think that sums it up. It doesn't it, Mike?
Absolutely, it does. I think what we need to do is throw in the recent box office failures for a little sprinkle seasoning on top.
Yes, because that's very,
because 2023 has been, well, 2023 has been the tide turned from them locking down the box office in terms of gross to now that being wobbly with other releases from Universal and now Warner Brothers with this Barbie thing that's happening. But more importantly is they have they've lost an aggregate shit ton of money in the last 12 to 15 months, as reported by our good friend Brian Renegade.
Got it. Yeah, and we've been talking about that for a while, and the fact that they're losing out on that because they've been losing in the box office and really hurting on their other streams and acquisitions. They're hurting in Marvel, they're hurting in Lucasfilm, they're hurting in Pixar. Everything they've brought on is now running at more of a loss and less of a profit.
In the last 45 days, there are multiple reports about attendance being an issue in the parks in Florida.
Yeah, and that's something that's been pretty much verified. You guys have seen, definitely photos and things coming out of Disney World where it's just absolutely abandoned, where the parks are looking like they're essentially like a zombie apocalypse. I honestly have never seen some of the parks as empty as they are in some of these photos. So like if you look at, for example, some of the thumbnails recently, just pulling up these ones, like why is it empty, right? It's like literally, is this not showing up? Okay. Well, there's like 2 dudes. There you go. There's like 5 dudes at Disney World. That's not normal. That's not normal Disney. Not during the summer. I live in Florida. I've gone up there I went up there every single year I was there while I was there. And I've never seen parks that empty in the summer. It's ridiculous. Drive-by and by the way, the park revenue is still a majority of their revenue. That's still a bulk of their revenue. And their pure profit is coming from those parks. So losing that at a time when they need money is bad. Drive-by commenter says, "My goodness, hearing that Disney has been obligated to acquire Hulu, they should have never created Disney Plus and rather anticipated streaming to consolidate." Well, that's one of the big things, right? So this is what I want to get into with this Netflix versus Disney Plus thing, and perhaps you have some good thoughts on this, Mike. It seemed like for a while, just generally, streaming was going to be in some trouble because it went from like Netflix owning everything to now everybody has their own platform and they pulled all their IP off. But to me, looking at it holistically, I actually think Netflix is going to be all right because they're doing so much internationally. They're immune to the writer's strike, essentially, because they've got so much international stuff coming in. They've got stuff in Korea, India, all abroad, Japan. A lot that are, Seoul and Tokyo are not under the thumb of the California commies and their labor laws. So I think they're going to be fine in terms of content. However, I do think some of these streaming services have to go. And to me, I look at Disney Plus as one that I'm thinking, yeah, if this is not working, it's going to go at some point. They're only going to let it be a loss leader for so long.
You're probably not old enough to, you're barely old enough to remember the .com bubble in around 2000 when, the advent of everything was .com, and that was going to be the solution. And, I remember at the time you saying it's just another delivery medium, versus fax or, versus anything else. It's an information delivery medium. And, while we are wrapped up in the internet now, the fact of the matter is that as someone who subscribes to all these services, I see them all consolidating. When I look at my cable, I have everything on the planet except Disney Plus. Lately, I've been watching a lot of Peacock and Netflix. Netflix programming, I think, has gotten better in the last 2 years.
Sure.
Versus, say, a few years ago, I'm going to say, Andrew, about 5, 4, 3 years. If I look,
there was nothing on it. I don't
there
think
was nothing on it.
No Korean stuff, no anime, no nothing else.
There was nothing on it. And in the last little bit more than 2 years, there's so much fun content. I mean, look, there's a lot of woke garbage and trash there too, but there's a lot of good stuff, action stuff, and some of the animated stuff is really good. I mean, of course they've had some notable misses, but overall Netflix is going to be fine. Plus, it's an international brand. There's no way that it is an international brand, whereas Disney Plus, might be seen as an international brand, but it's really an Americana brand that happens to export a little bit to tourists, kind of, sort of, not so much anymore.
Yeah,
but all
I
these
would put
things are going to get wrapped up, I think, and I think we're going to end up with one subscription where we're going to have it all in one. And I think at the end of the day, a company like Comcast that controls the delivery media through fiber optic networks, those are the types of companies that are truly going to win. And Iger, this is fool's gold. Is arrogant. He was cocky. He was arrogant, and he was misguided. For him to think that with his hubris and his brand of Disney, that on which he sat as a king, that he could actually compete with something that has legacy first mover advantage, which is Netflix.
Yes, and I think that you've either got to be the first, the best, or like just the cheapest, I guess. And it's none of those, right? It's not the first, the best, the cheapest. There's nothing. There's no reason to go to Disney Plus. And I think you made a really good point, which I was really tied into, is Disney is an international brand. Disney Plus is not.
Yep.
Disney is. People know Mickey Mouse and they know Goofy and they know all that stuff. That's fine. But do they know the individual product offerings of Disney? No, they do not. And Disney Plus is something that really does not get outside the Americana bubble. And frankly, the other thing is, as parents realize, hey, we can't leave our kids with Disney Plus on anymore. We actually have to be careful. They're turning away from this as something to provide for the kids, because that was always the market niche that, to me, Disney Plus had, was that, hey, you can get Disney Plus, turn it on, it's kids content, right? Is that you can leave it on and leave your kids with the remote. They can watch whatever they want. It's going to be safe. It's going to be fine. That is 100% not the case now.
No, in fact, I got Disney Plus for my kid years ago, and he got. I took his user ID away last year, and then I finally, after Obi-Wan Kenobi, I canceled it for myself. There's just nothing on there. There's nothing on there to watch. It's not a must-have. This company is so dumb because they're living off of the scraps of what they created before. I'm going to be in Orlando starting next week. I'm going to be there for a whole week. Max and I, my 10-year-old, we're not going to a single Disney park. We're going to all the Universal ones. We're also going to Gatorland, as per your recommendation.
Gatorland is amazing. You're going to have a great time.
Told me to take him to Gatorland, so I told him about it.
Do the
He's
zip line.
fired up.
Do the zip line. Do the zip line. He'll have fun.
Do the zip line?
The zip line across the Gators.
Oh God, dude! Dude, they're gonna look at me and they're like, "We've never seen anything so dark or so plump," and they're gonna jump out of the water. Andrew,
this is Florida. We got Puerto Ricans. Don't worry. We got you. Yeah, you got to forget. You're in Florida now.
It's really telling, because I did ask Max last year, but when we were planning this at the end of the summer, but in the fall, I said, look, next summer, I always promise him when he turns 10, if his grades are good, he gets to go to Orlando. And it was Disneyland. And I asked him, where do you want to go? And he said, Dad, I want to go to Universal. And I said, why? He says, because that's where all the fun stuff's at. I'm like, how do you know? You've never been. He says, all my friends tell me that. And then I asked him, who are you? I said, rank your top 3 Disney characters. He's like, I don't know if I have any favorites, Dad. And I'm like, no, I mean, just rank any. I says, just pick any 3 and rank them. He's like, well, I know there's Mickey and I know there's Minnie. And he got stuck on naming a third one.
Wow. That's
Andrew,
bad.
I would, if someone would have told me that when I ended up having a 10-year-old, let's go back 10, 15, 20 years ago, that my kid, I mean, I can go down the list of 15, 20 characters and rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it was baffling to me. And that tells me everything I need to know about the future of this company. And then they race swap Snow White, and, they don't release their stuff. There's no evergreen release. Remember, they used to release the movie.
Well, did you see the clip of what she thinks of the gentleman, and how what she thinks of the old Snow White, what the new Snow White thinks of the old Snow White.
Oh, Rachel Zellweger? Zell,
yeah,
I don't even know what's her last name? Rachel
Ziegler.
I don't know.
Ziegler.
Dude, I'm so she just humiliated and embarrassed all of my people. I mean, I'm like, what?
Is she part Mexican?
Yeah, she's some kind of Latin. I don't know.
Some kind of.
But either way, she fell off either the empanada or the taco truck wrong. I mean,
yes,
it hit her head.
That is very, very true. I think it's here. Okay, so yes, I'm gonna share this audio here, and we'll watch.
Yeah, let's
this
play
really
it. Oh, the
cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. And so when we came to reimagining the actual role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just and who can become a fantastic leader. And the reality is,
as she wears
Snow
a
White
super
has to learn
short
a lot
skirt,
of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a kingdom.
Also, the fact that she's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's the proactive one, and she's the one who set the terms.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. That's where we're at, Mike.
She don't need no man, Andrew.
She don't need no man. Snow White don't need no man.
Snow White don't need no prince. She don't need no kiss. She don't need romance or love.
She don't need nothing.
No,
she can do it all herself.
She doesn't even need 7 dwarfs.
No, she only got one.
Yeah, she only got one.
Only one is a legal midget. The rest are just from Seattle.
But you know what she is gonna need?
What?
A dog and a lifetime supply of dog food, because she's gonna buy it. Because this Snow White's gonna buy an enchanted dog and die alone.
Cat food. It's gonna be cat food plus.
Or
and
cat.
yeah, it's gonna be cat food plus. You better get that litter box. That better come with the bibbity bobbity boop. Yeah, it's gonna be sad. And look, I think that's gonna be the reaction in the box office as well for that. And these are ones, especially internationally, you have to realize people look at these characters and are like, that's not Snow White, that's not Little Mermaid. They're not going to see these movies because they're like, it's not that. It's something else. It's, Jake Skywalker. It's, it's not who they would expect to see.
And that's even, when you're talking about the international brand, people, one of the things I heard you mention in your video is like California is a domestic experience for residents, but Orlando, it was in one of your videos, you talked about how Orlando being an international destination. And that's for what I grew stupid about as CEO is he doesn't understand that when you are trying to project out to these international people that spend anywhere from what? 2 to 20 grand to come to Orlando for a week, depending on what country they flew in from. I mean, it's a minimum. That's not even 2 grand. It's probably 5 to 20 grand.
No, with a family. Because think about it. If you're flying in internationally, at least $1,000 a piece, even if you're coming from a close country, and you got 4 members of your family, so at least $4 grand, but probably more than that. Transportation costs, everything else. We're probably looking at more like $2 grand a person for a 4-person family. Yeah, you're talking about $8 grand to get in there, and then the hotels and the food on top of all that. So like a 10 grand vacation. I mean, this is something that is serious bucks.
So then these foreigners, overseas, they see what now Disney is exporting, and they're going to reject it instantly and viciously, because they're not going to accept it, because they're going to look at this and say, what is this? This is not what I visited when I was a kid. This is not what mommy and daddy or grandpa took me to when we had our family vacation. This is not the Americana experience that historically had been so welcome and well received around the world. And now we're giving them something. It's like, it's just like any place that you go to eat in a restaurant. You order something, you order steak, and if some like shitty ass like hamburger, helper comes out, that's what it is. And that's what Bob Iger is delivering. He's delivering literally hamburger helper, mashed up, mixed up, leftover, pulled it out of the fridge, stuck in the microwave, exported Disney. That's what we're getting now.
And someone brought up to David Nelson, who's a member of the chat, BLM and RPG, and I try to catch, guys, if you're members, I try to catch your chats when I can, even if they're not super chats. So Epcot was just remodeled. The front half changed. International Food and Wine is the best time to visit Epcot. Look, I used to love visiting during Food and Wine and doing all that stuff. But with Epcot, the one thing you guys got to realize is all these changes, there were supposed to be twice the amount of changes and updates. They have called back and canceled most of the planned updates for Epcot. For example, Spaceship Earth supposed to get a total remodel. That thing was done. They were supposed to get a massive, amazing sort of conference pavilion where they had this like, lifted up stage and this area where people could meet and, groups could gather and everything else. Nope, it's been all dumbed down and kind of put into a closet. So the things they wanted to do there, they've scaled back on because they just don't have the money to do it right now. They just cannot afford to go through with it. So yes, it's good that they're finishing their remodeling of Epcot, but this, number one, guys, this has been going on for years now. And number two, it's not what it could have been.
I would say this, that they have the money, Andrew, but they don't have the money because They're subsidizing woke initiatives. They're subsidizing all these other parts of the rest of their business that are failing. And they've got a cash drain because the parks themselves would be stacking cash and be able to reinvest if Disney was just a theme park, music, entertainment, company, and not this multimedia juggernaut that just burns through cash one way or the other for stupid crap that no one wants.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Victoria Angelina said, "Hey, Andrew, Disney should just retire already." Well, unfortunately, they're still going to be around. But I think what they may end up retiring is about half of their assets, because we've got up for sale ESPN, ABC. What other assets do they have? Did they potentially put on the table there, Mike? There's a couple others they put on the table.
Well, I mean,
Really?
it depends what direction they want to go. There's the direction of the broadcast media, which I think is what really pissed a bunch of people off, which is their ABC, their ABC channels, their ABC content. ESPN is sort of a different unit, even though it's affiliated. When I say ABC, I'm talking about the ABC News, ABC Broadcast. The markets that they're in as broadcast channels around the country. Those of you who live in LA, San Francisco, you'll see ABC7 is kind of their brand.
I think FX2 was also put up.
FX,
correct?
FX is in there as well. So there's there's the broadcast, and then there's some cable networks like FX, and then there's this ESPN. So those are three different types of entertainment.
And then, did you know about Freeform and what Freeform was? I know they had said they put Freeform up for sale, but I'm not too familiar with that.
Well, I mean, I'm not either. I
Okay.
I don't know much.
It's a lot of assets that they're putting up potentially for sale.
Right. And then with ESPN, what he said is that they're looking for someone to come in and subsidize and do like some kind of joint venture Hulu type of thing. They don't want to let go of ESPN, I think, because of the advertising that surrounds their sports, but that's a network that's dead. I remember, Andrew, I used to wake up and watch Mike and Mike in the morning. I'd go to my office in Silicon Valley. I'd turn it on, Sports Center starting, First Take. I mean, that damn thing I was probably that one way or another. I had ESPN programming around me anywhere from 4 to 10 hours a day, one way or the other. Sports Center at night. I can't remember the last time I looked at anything they put out.
That's true. I remember back in the day, like I would go over to anybody's house. Whenever I worked in North Carolina, it's before I went to law school, I would go over to people's houses and they'd just have ESPN on. Just ESPN would be on. Something would be playing when Sports Center, something else was playing at any given time. It's just kind of like the background thing that was on. I don't see that anymore or hear that anymore when I'm talking to people or calling people up. It's been very interesting. That's a huge shift from I think where places used to be. And is it just, here's my question to you, Mike, is it just because of ESPN or is it because at the same time sports in general has become more woke? That's what
I think it's undoubtedly sports has become more woke. I mean, the coverage, I'm a huge sports fan. Baseball, football. I've always been a big sports fan, and the commentators that they have, awful, totally gone downhill. It's very painful to listen to some of these people on these I don't watch it anymore, but for a while, watching them try to get through a broadcast when they really, look, they're diversity hires. I'm going to say
sure,
it, right?
Sure, yeah, they are. They're absolutely
inexperienced diversity hires that aren't real sports fans that are trying to mince words together from cue cards.
Right.
So you got that problem. Then, look, let me be blunt. You think I want to watch women's soccer if they're not going to stand up for the freaking national anthem?
Hold on. By the way, even after they got their unfair settlement, which they had no entitlement to, because once again, women's soccer globally makes 5%, less than 5% of what men's soccer makes. It does not pay for itself. It's completely subsidized by men's soccer. Nobody is paying for women's soccer. And but when America was in the final, the final with America in America got more viewers than the men's final with France and Croatia. I'm like, number one, because nobody gives a fuck about France and Croatia, number one, in the United States. Right? And U.S. was the main in the other. That's the difference, right? Of course, the woke West and the woke females in the West are going to watch that versus France and Croatia. But if you look globally, which, by the way, is where most of the soccer revenue is, globally, not in America, right? The revenue isn't even close. It's not even comparable. But yet they're still complaining. They're still taking a knee. They're still disrespecting, even after the settlement. So even if you give these women what they want, they still will want more. This is why it doesn't work.
It's almost like it doesn't. It's almost like you shouldn't simp for chicks online or something, Andrew. It's
weird.
Like
I know. It's really
so
weird,
right?
It's really weird, and I love how like it's funny in these Disney videos. Like occasionally, I'll get people like, "I love everything. Just like take it easy on the ladies." I'm like, no, because they're not being held accountable, and they're not being told the honest truth. And the honest truth is, look, ladies, if you want a fair playing field, you're paid for performance. And if you're not performing, i.e., making freaking money, sorry, honey, we can't be paying you. We're not paying you for sitting around. I know that America has gotten used to these make work admin jobs and the Disney officials, the HR directors, the Becky in HR, who's Karen's subordinate, of course.
Right.
They've gotten used to these cushy 6-figure HR jobs. You sit inside and you do nothing. That's not how it really works, and only in an an era of very loose capital is that something we're able to support.
I'm curious, Andrew. It's hilarious in sports how on the one hand, there's two messages that are delivered simultaneously. On the one hand, women's soccer has to take male revenue, and they have to take male revenue in order to subsidize. But simultaneously, they don't need no man, Andrew.
Yeah, they do
but
not.
They need
do
the
not.
revenue from the men.
They do not. They just need their money. They don't need men. They just need their money.
Oh, that's how it works. Okay.
See, they had to separate the men from men's money.
Got it. Okay. That's the problem. And that's just because men are toxic and evil, especially the white ones, right? Is that...
Yes. And by the way, I do agree in the chat. I do agree. Soccer girls are hot. I've dated a lot of soccer girls. That's fine. Their hotness has nothing to do with their amount of being paid. There's a lot of girls that are monetizing their hotness a lot better than soccer players.
Gymnasts are hotter. I've dated lots of gymnasts.
That's fine. And once again, they can go monetize it. Like that's on them. If they're not making enough money, it's because maybe they haven't set it up and monetized it right, or they haven't found the best rich dude to shack up with. That's on them. It's not on us. Victoria Angelina says, love from the UAE. Shout out to my viewers all over the world there. 17 dinar. I've got to get over there this year for sure. That's on my docket. Probably
one of my favorite pro cycling teams is UAE, United Arab Emirates. They're I follow. I know it's boring, but I follow pro cycling.
Awesome. But yeah, definitely got to get over there and shout out everybody everywhere in the world. It's 7:53 p.m. here in Thailand, but it's good to see all y'all, whether you're waking up, going to bed, or wherever else you are. And yes, I have seen the Hope Solo content, and I can't unsee that. And nobody cares about Rap and Ho. Rapino. All right, so let's get into this Disney versus Netflix. So obviously, I talked a little bit about what was going on with the strike, right? So like obviously Netflix is a little bit more shielded because they've got that global crew, they've got a pipeline, they've got a lot of stuff coming. So all this kind of woke California protesting, that's not going to hit Netflix as hard, right? So they've got the ability to dig deep, to kind of go and look at Korean content, look at international content, and that Korean content, it's been killing it. Like, I mean, Physical 100, they came up with a new one, which is actually it's like one of the few one of the few shows, like when there's reality TV and it's Korean, I'll watch it because they usually make it more entertaining and more engaging. So I'll check that. Saying we have F1 coming up. Okay, cool. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming for Netflix. But at the same time, Mike, I wanted to get your opinion because they did hit a little bit of a stumble here. So they obviously had a little bit of a fall on earnings because apparently they had really great subscriber growth, but the revenue dropped a little bit. And I think that's because they changed a model. Now, that's kind of a blip in their stock price because, of course, when you have earnings versus expectations, right? Because obviously the market analysts, the way this works is they say, okay, we expect them to grow 5%, right? And then they look at the earnings and they go, oh, they grew 4%. Well, they're 1% short, so now we got to dock that out of the price. I don't know if you take too much data when you see like an earnings blip like this, like what you take from that.
So I have a couple reactions. One of them's mathematical, the other one's kind of almost emotional. But the thing is that they were successful in Netflix was being criticized heavily for implementing the plan where they wouldn't let passwords be shared, and so they essentially went through a period where that was implemented. So yeah, now they have more subscribers because people still want Netflix. That tells me everything I need to know. It goes back to the comments you were making about 10 minutes ago about Netflix in terms of subscriber demand, that if they didn't have good content, then people just would have let the duplicate IDs drop. They wouldn't have subscribed. Now, the revenues and the earnings might be down for a variety of reasons, such as content spending and others. But so mathematically, I think it's fantastic. You know, the little earnings blip. Now, this is my second comment. I find this ultimately disingenuous and freaking hilarious because at least they've got earnings, Andrew.
That's exactly right. It's like
Hashtag
at least
dang
they're
it.
making money.
Dang it, Bob. Where's my dividend, Bob? Where's my earnings? And I mean, I'm at 13 billion on Disney Plus in terms of cumulative loss. I'm like at a 13 billion so far. I mean, everyone's like, well, Netflix, their subscribers grew, but we didn't see the earnings target achieved that we were hoping. I'm like, at least you got earnings.
Yeah, at least you've got money. At least you've got money.
I'm like, get out of here with it. I mean, but Netflix is the king of the hill, and they want to, there's all these other companies that have their little Peacock plays and all their other little streaming apps. And I got to tell you, of all the ones that I've got right now, I haven't watched a lot of Peacock lately.
You have.
I have.
What are you watching? What are you watching on Peacock? What are you
random, like all kinds, like shit. I had Jaws on last night, like randomly.
Jaws, oh, that's classic. Yeah.
Just classic. I mean, the TV shows, and yeah, I mean, it's just got a little bit of everything. Is what I'm going to say. A little bit.
Okay.
Now, their app sucks because it doesn't remember the last thing you watched. See, one of the great things about Netflix and even Amazon is they figured out that if you watch something, they know what to suggest next. That's right around that, kind of like YouTube does. Peacock's a train wreck. All they do is that you turn it on and it's like a whole new menu, and you got to go find the shit you want and go shopping. It's like going into the shopping store every time, and and they never put anything in front that you might like.
Netflix and even other social media has really figured it out. Amazon's figured it out. Instagram figures it out. I mean, shit, that thing listens to you. So it's the point of the matter is they're good at putting it in front of you. The other guys are not. So, yeah, no, I agree with
I bought a tactical vest off of Instagram through one of them links one day. Next thing you know, I got
because it just pops up.
Tactical optics, tactical sunglasses, tactical targets, tactical pants, tactical.
Yeah, it knows you. It knows you. It knows you very well.
So I look at the Netflix. I think Netflix is even more.
Wait, Reacher, is that on? People say Reacher season 3 is out. Is that on Peacock or is that on?
Reacher
Netflix?
Is Amazon, isn't it?
Is it Amazon?
Is it? Wait, I'm blanking.
Amazon Prime. Prime.
Oh, look at that. I passed the quiz. Look at that. Woo.
Good job. Yeah. But that's the whole point is you do have to kind of search nowadays, although the default usually used to be to Netflix, right? But now you got to say, okay, where's that on? All right.
But I would argue that Netflix, because of the points that you were making in terms of its global reach, global programming, not being
people
effective.
know Netflix. If I go out there to a random Thai person and I say, if I say, for example, this is my test. If I say Rumble, they're not going to know what it is. But if I say YouTube, they instantly know YouTube, right? Same thing with Netflix. If I make the Netflix and chill joke, if I invite a girl over, Netflix and chill, she knows what Netflix is. And she knows what chill is, to make it
right. She knows what chill.
She knows what chill is as well.
Chill is breakfast.
Yes, chill is breakfast. Yes.
But here's another one to you. I travel a lot on business. You travel a lot on business.
Yes.
Have you noticed that over the last 2-3 years, all the hotels default with the Netflix button, or it's on that first menu? Hilton, Marriott.
It's on the actual remote. You have the Netflix button.
Yeah, so over the last 2-3 years, and that tells you everything you need to know. It's Netflix. Netflix has transcended being a streaming media service. It's transcended being an international brand. It's now almost a utility. It is that much of a staple. I mean, it's weird because wherever I travel, I could be in the middle of nowhere, random ass state, Alabama, or I could be in major city and state. San Francisco, whatever, in a hotel, Marriott, Hilton, whatever, and boom, it's there. And it's weird because it didn't used to be that way 5 years ago. Now it is. Netflix will survive as the winner, and it was the king and the winner of the streaming wars before the War of the Wars, and it will emerge as the kingpin.
And I think it's because they were challenged, because people came for the throne, and there was a serious worry about it, because there was a time at which, like you said, they were kind of hurting, but they got their shit together, they internationalized, and they made themselves really resilient in a way that none of the other streaming services are. And I think it's paying off big right now, particularly with like I said, the strike's still going on. And by the way, there's no end in sight for this strike because I don't know if you've paid any attention to it, but what they're asking for is pretty patently ridiculous. And look, I'm not on Iger's side. I'm not taking like an Iger versus the union sort of thing. I mean, Iger's wrong for so many other reasons, but in terms of the whole industry ask, not just from Iger, but from the whole industry, these people are wanting to essentially be salaried employees when there's not enough money to pay them all to be salaried employees. So even if they end up saying, okay, we'll do that, it's going to be like, all right, we'd hire 5 gig workers, but instead we're going to hire 1 or 2 salaried workers. So you're going to end up with a net loss in terms of number of jobs in the marketplace. So I think this is going to be something that's not going to look good, even if they end up getting their W. I don't know if you've thought at all.
But Netflix has, the thing about Netflix is that it's had phenomenal bad PR and phenomenal good successes. Jen Ortega's TV series, was really well received, and they had some really bad PR, and it's interesting to see how they handle it. Like, let's not forget, this is the same network that I think someone mentioned in chat a few minutes ago about the whole Cuties debacle.
Oh gosh, yeah, that was the biggest debacle for them right now. Well, yeah, Cuties is probably the biggest thing that I had an issue with them for Netflix specifically, but I think they've gotten past that because I mean they've allowed that to die down in the media, so that's kind of something they've moved past. But certainly that was the worst black eye for them.
Yeah, and then you take that debacle and then fast forward it, which I think that was 2 years ago, was it?
About 2 years ago, I think was the Cuties debacle.
And now like last year and then say this year they've got Extraction, right? I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it's an action movie.
2020, so 2020 was that, so about 3 years ago almost now.
So the thing is like, whereas Disney, they released the Not So Secret Agenda, and you know what Disney does? Screw it, we're going to double down on woke. We're going to double, triple, quadruple down. We're going to have the Disney princess named Steve.
Yeah.
At the Disney princess store, Steve, who can't buy a Bic razor.
Yes, Steve in the dress, yes.
Yeah, we have Steve-O, the Disney princess, bearded Disney princess.
Yes.
And yeah.
It's very important to have the bearded representation.
Disney's incapable of learning any lessons, and it's clear that Bob is afraid of the wokies that he led into his little garden.
100%. Because now they control the company essentially in these action groups, so they can bring down the companies. Allowed them through DEI, through ESG, through these community identification action groups, which essentially all are some form of intersectionality. Each and every single one of them marks its intersectionality. They've been allowed to bring down the company, and they were used as a tool against Chapek, but they're still around, and they can still be used against Iger and the rest of the apparatus, particularly as they try to cut down, try to fire employees, try to let people go. Tankrat, who's been a member for 1 year, shout out, and 14 members of BLM. Thank you, so based, so based, so Tankrat. Says, lol, I dropped Netflix when they came out with an anti-VPN policy and couldn't watch US Netflix in the UAE. Then Cuties, then Cuties, and that's just like, boom. Now I will say, I end up, I'll just say, I can neither confirm nor deny that I have used VPNs with Netflix and it's worked for me. But that's just saying, can neither confirm nor deny that. Can neither confirm nor deny.
Counselor?
That's what I'm saying. Can neither confirm nor deny. Don't know whether it would or not. And Don Baca can neither confirm this one either. Says, I saw the high seas for everything. F Disney and Netflix and the others. R, matey. R.
Someone in the chat asked me about Apple Plus. I've had Apple Plus. I'm an Apple guy. Despite, hating on it. I mean, everybody hates on Apple people, but I'm Apple. My Mac, I got Apple Macs, I got Apple phones, I got Apple Watches, everything. My whole life is Apple. Do I have a PC? Yeah, the one behind me is my gaming PC. But I've been pretty impressed with Apple TV in the last year or two as I've watched them come on. I just saw Silo. They do a lot of high quality productions. They don't appear to spend money as frivolously. They've had some, they've of course released a couple piece of garbage shows, but I think Apple's just sort of waiting this thing out and seeing they're letting everybody else sort of fight, and Apple knows itself. It knows that it has a captive network, and so I think they're just sort of sitting on the sideline watching the carnage happen on the battlefield. Netflix is up here as the dominant power. Apple's over here as an emerging, nuclear streaming state, if you will, and then everybody else here is having a conventional war.
Yeah. Everybody else is just duking it out. Crystal Pontax, who's been a member for 6 months of the RPG Replay Gang, says, "Love chillin' with Netflix." Listen, don't we all? Don't we
I
all?
think is that a comment? Is that member chat or
That's
an
a comment.
invitation?
That's a member chat. A member chat. So I just paste them in, so you guys can actually see them and get them out here, and they can be kind of seen live. So it's kind of treated like a super chat, but I gotta physically paste it in.
I think we should call that a member chat invitation, Andrew.
A member chat invitation. Oh, I
you.
like it. I like it. I like it.
Hint, hint.
It's, yes, I got it. I got it.
Moving on.
Speaking of the hint, were you a Witcher fan? Because this is the big news, I guess, for The Witcher being put on hold. Season 3 could be the finale. So for Netflix, I think this is definitely going to be, I guess, a loss. I watched the first season. I honestly think
I did. I did watch the first season. Yeah.
The first season, I thought it was all right. I didn't think it was horrible, but it was all right. I saw it, like, I saw the writing on the wall for, like, how 2 and 3 could get woker. Like, I saw where they could have gone with that. I didn't watch 2. So I don't know. People in the chat will have to tell me if you're huge Witcher fans. I don't know whether this really puts a dent in Netflix, though. I mean, I think, look, it's a property, but I don't think Netflix is one of these things that, like, oh, we're basing our entire thing around 1 or 2 pieces of intellectual property, which I think is the Amazon model with Rings of Power, Wheel of Time, where they've sunk so much money in that and just drops in the bucket for both Wheel of Time and for Rings of Power.
As we've learned from anything, if we've learned anything from Netflix with shows that are either have marquee value or they develop marquee value because they're so popular, Stranger Things, another thing, if we've learned anything, they like metrics. And here's what's going to happen. They may have already committed to this Witcher, but now with the strike and everything else, this thing's going to go off and die a slow death because no one's watching it, no one's going to watch it, and it will sunset. And there will not be, I have no factual basis for this, but I'm just saying that my analysis is that there will never be a 4 or a 5 or anything beyond that because this thing has dropped off a cliff. And Netflix does not like spending money on things that run. Like Netflix, for example, you don't see that, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seasons, like we used to get with broadcast TV where there would be some sitcom like that would just run 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. That doesn't happen. Netflix likes to do things 1, 2 seasons, maybe a third, and then stop. Because if it's not bringing in new viewership and it's not keeping the platform fresh, then they don't want to spend the money.
Exactly. If it's not bringing in the dollars and cents, or at least bringing the eyeballs, they're not going to be liking it. And look, it can be like an HBO scenario with Game of Thrones where they know, hey, look, there's a lot of piracy out there on the high seas with Game of Thrones, but there's so many new subscribers that are brought in that the piracy is incidental, right? Even though it's the most pirated thing out there, it's still brought in people to HBO. There's still people that went out there and just bought HBO because they didn't want to deal with the BS. So I don't think, like I said, I don't think The Witcher is going to be sink or swim. And obviously there's some comments here. Madman says, I'm a huge Witcher fan. What Netflix gave us is not The Witcher. I think this is something I think a lot of people, when you see a book, when you see something else, look, I read Wheel of Time way back in the day by Robert Jordan. What was given to us was not Wheel of Time or the story of the Wheel of Time or the feel of Wheel of Time. So
I don't play a lot of video games, but I do play on occasion. That Witcher video game's sick. I mean, it's entertaining.
Oh yeah, the video games are amazing, and that's what made it
super entertaining as hell. I got to tell you.
Yeah, those games are fantastic. They're great. They're engaging. Yeah. That's what was going to, make the real money. And there is sort of a hard transition there with a lot of the video game movies. I mean, some of them can turn out all right. I mean, you can tell me how you feel about the Mortal Kombat movies, but like I think about the Warcraft movie. I mean, these things usually don't work out very well when they try to translate them from video game feel into actual movie. Because it's a different format. You're kind of immersed in the world way more when it's a video game, and you just can't do that in 3 hours as much.
Well, I think that's also part of the problem is that when if I was a super hardcore Witcher fan, and there's an experience that you had coming from the video side, whether it's the original Witcher game or Assassins, Wild Hunt, any of that stuff, the look and feel of what again, and I only watched one season of Witcher, and I think I saw 2 or 3 episodes of season 2, but it just doesn't look the same, feel the same. It's just a completely different. It's literally doesn't give you any. It didn't give me anything familiar at all.
Got it. Okay, I almost wanna watch this, like, the best argument here that they give for trying to buy Disney stock. And have you, like, do a counterpoint. It looks like I have not seen this. It's like a 5-minute video, but I think this might be really fun.
Hold on,
I know
let
this
me
is really
stretch.
fun for you. Yeah. Speaking of which, Scorpid Black Dragon says KK to SW is like Brandon to economy. Disney Plus should have some recovery if they develop the MCU R-rated content, and Iger cleanses Lucasfilm. Okay, so MCU R-rated content. The only really R-rated content I care about is, I guess, they've acquired Deadpool. So I do like Deadpool, but other than Deadpool, I'm not sure I give a shit if they made rated R stuff. What are they going to throw in, like, some sex scenes for Vision? Like, I'm not.
No, they're gonna throw in some transgender sex scenes, bro. It's
well, yeah, I know. They've already got Sam Jackson in the Transformer, in Secret Invasion. I don't know if you saw that, of course.
Disney. Yeah.
But, I mean,
Come on. Can you just imagine the rated R sex scenes in an MCU and modern Disney?
yeah, it's going to be bad, guys.
Hi, Steve. Hi, Dave. You look pretty hot in that latex. Not as hot as you do.
It's going to be like Buffalo Bill from from Silence of the Lambs. It's like, would you Disney me? I'd Disney me.
I want to get up all inside your universe.
Yeah. That would be very, 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 very bad for everybody.
So there was
let me
a
see.
5-minute argument. I can't. My sister is a Disney shell. I don't think I've ever said. I don't know if I've told you that on any.
No, you have not admitted. You've not confessed that. Although I will say, look, like, based on, like you said, your family background, where you're from. Look, and a lot of people, you're there in Southern California.
Yeah.
You're going to Anaheim. You kind of love Disney because that, like I said,
We've
it's a
had
domestic market.
At our height, our family had 8 or 10 season passes. Like at our height. I mean, now the only one that's got one left now is my sister. So there's one now. Okay, so this is. And I get in fights with her all the time. I'm like, how can you support this crappy ass company? She says, well, if I didn't support them, then who? This is her response. Who would I give all my money to?
Well, are you kidding me? How about you just save your money?
Message. Hold on. You fight. Okay,
who would I give all my money to?
Here, I'm gonna bring it up on. So you don't believe me? Here, hold on. See?
No.
I don't make anything up. I might be funny, but I never make anything up.
No. Here's the sad thing. I 100% believe you, because these women will actually spend all of their money going to Disney, buying Disney merch, getting the cute little ears. They got to get the rose gold. They got to get the R2-D2 ones. They got to get the different, mini. They've got 52 different pairs of ears that they can never wear, even if they went every single day of the year. It's bad. It's bad. But I absolutely believe you that that's the case. I've seen this happen. I've seen the Disney girls. They're pretty bad. Speaking of which, we got
Disney girls, Disney adults. What do we call them?
Disney. I like Disney adults. I used to call them the Diz girls, but I like the Disney adults because it is a certain type of, especially millennial or Gen Z person that is an adult, a full adult, but is still living in a suspended reality. They often have a bunch of cats or a dog or 5, and it is just it's going to be a very sad world for them. Okay, here you go. I want to show this.
Okay, I sent her July 4th, 2:39 p.m. Your favorite company sucks. And then I sent the Twitter link of something, one of my dang it bobs. She says, laugh out loud. I never once said they're awesome. I just like giving them my money.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, no.
My little baby sister. You know how heartbreaking this is, Andrew?
It is. No, but trust me, I get the same thing. I've got family members that they just make the worst decisions, the worst investments, the worst ideas. I'm like, you know what? You just go right ahead. You just go over there, and I can only help you so much.
I even said to her, I'm like, because she just went last month. I said, I heard they don't even say welcome, boys and girls. Like when I used to take her, I'd hold her hand. You know, she's a little kid. Like in my mind, I remember when she was 6 years old, and you know, I'm like, I heard they don't say welcome, boys and girls. She's like, no, but I'm still their friend. I guess they say welcome, friends, or something now. I don't know. I don't know what they say, but that's what she said.
Yeah, that is indeed what she said.
All right, so Disney
new channel, Disney After Hours. No bonus holes allowed. Absolutely. And a member chat from Joseph Beinowitz, which says, "Good morning. Good morning as well, wherever you guys are. It's good evening over here. I'll be hitting the bars and in a bit, but you know, for a very wholesome legal mindset." Sunday evening. But speaking of wholesome, let's get this. I want to share this tab here, and I want to have the Mexican versus the white man Disney stands here, and we can have you kind of debunk this.
You do my rabbit chicken punch.
Yes, let's see. Okay, actually, you know what? I think I've got to share it in Chrome because it's going to be weird otherwise. Annoying. All right.
Get ready for battle. Let me get a lightsaber out.
Okay. This should work. Okay. So yes, you versus the white men at Disney. Mexican Iron Man versus the white men at Disney. Here we go. All right. Share this out. All right. Boom. Okay, hold on. I'll let the ad play through here.
All right. And so this is someone.
This is Barron's. This is on Barron's. This is then yes, commenting on whether or not Disney, whether it's over for Disney and whether Disney is going to move past in terms of stock price and stock valuation. They're literally making they appear to be making, I have not watched the video. The article is making the argument that it may be back for Disney. So, all right, here we go.
It's got to be entertaining
Disney
as hell.
Stock has plummeted from recent highs, but the media giant looks poised to bounce back.
Can you hear it all right?
What went wrong for the company, and why should investors take another look? It's the cover story this week, and Barron's senior writer Nicholas Jasinski joins the panel. Nick, thanks for coming on the show. So you took a look at this iconic media company. What has gone so wrong in recent years?
Yeah, certainly, Jack, the stock performance has been less than enchanting for the past couple of years for Disney.
Oh, that's cute.
Beta
alert.
Record revenue,
Beta
record
as hell.
earnings, record per capita spending. The issues are really on the media side of the business. There's the linear TV, which it's still profitable, but it's a shrinking business as cord cutting proceeds. And then there's streaming, which is the fastest growing part of Disney's portfolio, but it's losing billions of dollars per year. So Disney certainly has issues, and a lot of them are self-inflicted.
Important point.
There's a lot of focus on Disney's battle with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, but Disney has enough problems right now that you really don't need to blame them on the go woke, go broke kind of idea. They just gotta right now. That's just a lot of unnecessary noise more than anything. But it's
okay. So hold on. Let's pause that right there. Let's pause that right there. Time out. We'll resume this. Okay. What? So somebody comes out, and by the way, this is Fox. These are your conservatives, right? This is your conservatives saying, "Oh, well, this isn't about get woke, go broke."
Right.
They just said with a straight face that this is not. Now they may be correct. This is the one thing. It may be correct that not everything is DeSantis's fault directly. In fact, DeSantis doesn't have much to do with their business failures. Trying to blame everything on DeSantis is the wrong track. But it does have to do with Disney internally being woke for the past decade, I would say.
Yes, and I think it's funny that here's what I see so far. One is that the first guy already talked, beta analyst number one. Okay, so we're going to call him
beta analyst versus Chad Mexican.
Yeah, we're going to call him Billy the Beta. So Billy the beta guy says already talked about two negatives about streaming losses and all that. So there's nothing positive that just came out of the mouth of Billy the Beta. Then we turn to the other dude. We'll call it, I don't know but I don't know who did his hair. Someone like whoever did his hair needs to get fired. But here's what I think funny. In order to articulate, it's so funny that in order to articulate the message that Disney is worth investing in, and you should maybe take a second look. What do, Andrew? I love how the white dudes are never important and never needed. But when it comes to making a pitch for money, let's trot out Billy the Beta.
Bring out Billy Beta. Yep,
Right,
yep.
and Bartholomew here on the left. I'm gonna call him Bartholomew. Okay, Bartholomew with his purple ass lavender tie combo that he got over.
I don't know. I want to call him Steve the Simp, but you know,
right,
I mean, okay.
So Steve the Simp on the left, Billy the Beta on the right, and
yes.
obviously Steve the Simp just went to Men's Warehouse and got his purple shirt tie combo. Let her rip.
Let's do it. Let's do it. That's great. That's great, guys. Let's go here.
And you've got the linear melting ice cube that you mentioned. You've got money losing streaming. Where's the upside here?
As everyone has heard, Bob Iger's back as CEO. He's got this new mantra of focusing on cost cutting and the bottom line and restoring creativity to Disney's franchises.
Okay, I'm gonna stop right there real quick. His lead-in. So his lead-in, like you're supposed to start with your strongest point, is Bob Iger. That is what are we going on now? 2 years of Bob Iger? So is he trying to pretend that Bob Iger has not been running this company for the past? Are you serious? That is your main point here. Your leading point, the point you start with, your strongest point is Bob Iger?
Clipboard of justice.
That's your argument for the stock is Bob Iger. Are you serious?
And guess what? He's cutting costs. Like my boy Chapek was trying to do, but got ousted for it, right?
Well, he's cutting costs because he has to acquire Hulu. So that's what they're like not. This is why the mainstream media, even like, guys, this is why you got to be careful. Even with like Fox, people are like, oh, it's conservative. And I'm like, they're retarded too, right? Like,
and second of all, and second of all, Billy the Beta needs how to learn how to tie a tie, and he needs to stop buying his collared shirts at Billy the Beta needs to learn how to tighten up on that tie, and he needs to stop buying his shirts at Marshalls. All right.
All right, let's go here.
The company should return to earnings growth in the second half of this year. Streaming is on track to break even.
Based
next
on
year.
what?
And
whoa.
an inexpensive stock. When you look at the PE multiple, price to earnings multiple versus its history versus the market versus
Let it
peers.
play a little bit.
But what really looks cheap is when you do a valuation based on the sum of the parts.
And you know, the theme parks alone.
Okay, let's
the entire market.
Let's stop there. Let's stop there before he gets in anywhere else. Okay, what did you think about that? The PE ratio. The value of the P ratio, streaming is set to recover. Based on what?
He's looking at this. Where's the fucking Disney? I'm getting out. Now I'm hot. Now I'm getting hot. Mexican Iron Man's. You're going out for drinks, and I still got to do my Sunday day. And now I'm hot. I'm gonna go to the grocery store today. Go grocery shopping. I'm gonna go freaking crazy. All right. What dipshit Billy's little. First of all, and by the way, Billy, let me give you a hint here. Okay, Billy, just because you use the Mr. Spock raised eyebrow thing.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make you smarter, Billy. You know the look. No.
Yeah, that doesn't increase.
What he's saying is that because the stock was once at $180, $170, $189, and now that it's currently at $85, $86,
right?
It's undervalued. I would argue it's overvalued. I would argue two things. One, it's overvalued. You're wrong, you moron, because when you take a company like Comcast, Billy the Beta, which has essentially the same footprint, the only thing that Comcast doesn't have that Disney does is the real estate, the vacation, the cruise ships, and the theme parks, which is the company that it started with. In terms of everything else, it's all in common. They've got theme parks, they've got theme parks. They've got movies, they've got movies. I'm sorry. They've got theme parks that are getting old and sucking. Universal has theme parks that are growing and are amazing.
And they're updating.
One has movies that lose money. The other one has movies that make some money. And Comcast has a fiber optic and cable delivery system, which Disney doesn't. And they both have streaming companies. Anyway, the second thing that dipshit Billy the Beta is wrong about has to do with the undervalued assets, the sum of the parts. Are you kidding me? What is Lucasfilm? You bought Fox for $72 billion, and it's sitting on a shelf collecting dust. It is collecting dust. And Comcast in the negotiations drove up the price. Bob, with all of his arrogant hubris, just like a chick at the mall that has to have a Gucci bag, Bob's like, no, I don't want the sale price. I want to pay full rack for the Gucci bag because Bob just wanted to make sure that he got it. He buys $72 billion, and it's sitting on the shelf, not doing crap. So that's undervalued asset. You think Pixar's a good asset? Totally undervalued. You bought Pixar, it's sitting on the dust. Let's talk about Lucasfilm. You know what's the most embarrassing thing? I don't hear anyone talk about Lucasfilm. I hear KK rumor this, KK rumor that, none of which I give a shit about or care about. But I'm going to tell you this. You know who just got a $4 billion valuation? Skydance.
Yeah.
Skydance got a $4 billion corporate valuation and a $1 billion line of credit in order to justify a 4-to-1 ratio. And Lucasfilm was bought for what, $4 billion back in the day?
Yes, $4 billion.
Lucasfilm ain't worth $500 million to $1 billion on a good day right now. So look, Billy the Beta. I don't know if Billy the Beta needs to go back and take pre-algebra again.
But that's the whole thing.
I don't know if his
the whole sum of their parts, because that's the argument they're making here, right? Sum of their parts, right? Pixar, Marvel,
garbage.
This is what they're saying, and I think they're valuing based on how much they bought them for, and that they haven't hurt those IPs. That those IPs would still be worth something to sell off at this point.
National Geographic just laid off all of its staff. Star Wars, garbage. Marvel, increasingly garbage. Pixar, trash. Disney, no one's watching trash.
Right, not good. Some super chats here. Brandon says, I'll buy Andrew a beer if he can tell me the earnings yield without looking it up or phoning a friend. Okay, I don't know the earnings yield. I know it'd be like, I'd probably under 1%, but that's just my guess. Do you know, Mike?
No, I'd have to look it up.
You'll have to look it up. Yeah,
it's so low.
I know it'd be small. I think it's sub 1%, but I mean, I know that's like a wide guess. Incoherent Turd says these talking heads literally make up points in a green room 5 minutes before airing. They don't know shit. It's a game to them, like Debate Club. Yeah. And well, they come together and like, okay, we're going to say this, and you're not actually going to challenge me on this. So that's the whole thing. There's nobody in this room to push them, right? They're just allowed to say shit that doesn't make sense. Like, oh yeah, we expect streaming to roar in terms of revenue. Based on what? Hopes and dreams and fairy dust you're snorting through your bonus hole? Like, come on. Oh God, let's play this through. I want to get through this. This is great. We're only 2 minutes in.
Yeah, Andrew, by our math, some of the parts valuation comes up with $124 per share, which is almost 50% higher than the current stock price.
Okay, that would be an impressive.
Okay, hold on. Let me play that one more time.
Alone could be almost worth the entire market.
But what really looks cheap is when you do a valuation based on the sum of the parts.
So they're saying the theme parks are worth money.
The theme parks alone could be almost worth the entire market cap of the company.
Yeah, Andrew, by our math, some of the parts valuation comes up with $124 per share, which is almost 50% higher than the current stock price.
Okay, that would be an impressive jump. What kind of cap?
Okay, let me just talk about this for a second. I do not think that math is good because number one, they have not factored it and basically they say, oh, based on some evaluations. Have you guys factored in the fact that they can just yank Shanghai at any point, or that Florida, they're going to have to pay billions of dollars over the next decade in terms of new taxes and regulatory costs that's going to eat into their profit margin? Like, are you factoring any of that in, or they're actually going to have to pay real fees, real money to the new district? Because they're actually going to hold them accountable for keeping things up to standard, for enforcement, for doing things right within the district. Yeah, that's something that's going to actually hit them big time in the long run, particularly those fees. So I don't think they're doing the math right on that one at all in terms of the price valuation.
Here's what's also silly is that valuation of assets doesn't mean jack crap when it comes to stock price, because you buy a stock for one of two reasons. You either want that stock to go up and you want to cash it out, or you want to get a dividend. And historically, Disney has been the kind of company that for multiple decades just issued a dividend. It would never be big, but it would be consistent, and it was like clockwork. It would click, 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 click. And there's sometimes you buy a stock because it's a fast riser and you want to get in on the action as it rises over a short period of time.
Right.
That's not the case with this. And unless this is a company that hasn't declared dividends in forever. And Bob did suggest when the Nielsen-Peltz conflict arose that by the end of the year, obviously not the fiscal year, I don't think, but by the end of the calendar year or fiscal year, we'll see what he does, that there would be some kind of dividend announced. Now, let's see if the dividend's announced, and then let's see if the dividend's actually paid, because a lot of times these companies will announce a dividend, but they won't pay it out.
Yep. Yeah. And by the way, guys, people jumping in here. Yes, this is indeed a live show. So everybody is like, is this recorded? No, this is live. Me with Mexican Iron Man, we're doing it live. We're ripping into the Disney analysts. It is Billy the Beta and Steve the Disney Sim.
Here's our content. I'm sure.
Sorry, diversity hire.
Yeah, I'm diversity hire. I'm sure I'm all that was available Sunday morning at
Yeah.
8 a.m. West or East Coast.
Oh no, I'm talking about her right here. You
Oh,
know? They gotta have their woman on there to prove that women know math too. So
all right, let's go.
yeah, let's go.
Catalyst do you see getting the stock there?
There are a few. The one that I'm most excited about is the new Marvels movie coming out later this year. Maybe we should all go together do a field trip. But
He literally, sorry, I have to pause this. He thinks the Marvels movie is going to be what turns us around. Mexican Airman, last time I checked, I think IMAX just said they're not even going to give it screens because Dune is coming out at the same time. They're just going to leave Dune, which is going to be printing money left and right in the theaters. That the Marvels is going to be what turns this around. This is what this guy with a straight face just said that to us. My question is not, is it going to lose money? It is, how much money is that movie going to lose, right? We need value on for that one. Wow. Holy crap.
Let's all. Hey guys, Disney's gonna do better because of the Marvels. Come on, financial analysts. Let's go. Road trip. Come on, Billy.
Horrible.
That return to earnings growth. Right now, analysts are penciling in earnings growth year over year in the September quarter, which would follow 4 quarters of negative year over year numbers. So that's going to be a good sign of the turnaround starting to get underway.
So your analysts are going out on a limb here and saying after four quarters of losing, they're finally going to gain. Oh, that sounds like a real winner right there. Oh, come on.
Why are the older white dudes listening to
Billy?
Billy?
A chance for management to give long-term targets for the streaming business. What do margins look like after break even? And they've talked about bringing back the dividend by the end of this year, which should broaden the appeal to more investors. And you just got some good news coming up and a starting point of an inexpensive stock.
And we just saw that.
So do you believe that,
what else do you need?
Mexican Ironman, do you believe there's going to be a dividend by the end of the year?
No, and I'm just wondering. Let's look at everybody around the table. This guy, here's the thing: we got Stunning and Brave on the left, and then we got,
yes.
I don't know, William Hemsworth in the back on the left.
Yeah.
I don't know. Why is everybody listening to the guy that's still in junior high school?
His balls dropped Tuesday and only a quarter of the way.
I'll tell you this much: he may have hit puberty, but he has not hit financial puberty. I'll tell you that.
Guys, and if you want to hit financial puberty, smash the like button. Hope you guys are going to be having a good one tonight. Today. And also, guys, check over my legalmindset.locals.com, hanging out there with the most based of the based. So check that on legalmindset.locals.com. All right, let's continue with this.
But I want to ask you about ESPN.
And I love how they immediately put it in big letters here. I know I'm blocking it halfway, but like Disney could resume paying attention. Yeah, and rainbows and unicorn farts, could happen. But hey,
Salma Hayek might call me.
Yeah, might. Yeah, it's possible.
At one point, that was sort of the crown jewel, at least in the ABC empire. But you had all these families, these households paying for ESPN, some of which weren't even watching sports. That group is shrinking. Meanwhile, the cost of actually buying rights to these franchises, these games, is going up. How do you square that circle? What's the future for ESPN?
Yeah, no doubt about it. ESPN, it's a tougher business in the streaming era. Iger has talked about the future of this company is streaming and theme parks, which suggests that maybe everything else, the linear networks, could be on the table for a sale. It's all speculation at this point, but ESPN
it's
could
happening.
spin it off. They could find a minority partner to bring some cash in and share the burden there. I'll say that they are separating ESPN into its own segment this year. So look at that how you will. That may be a precursor to some kind of move. There's Comcast owns 1/3 of Hulu. One analyst has suggested that Disney should trade ESPN straight up for Comcast's Hulu stake.
That's not gonna
far-fetched to me, but there are all kinds of fun ideas out there.
Okay, yeah, that's not happening. I mean, you're pretty with me on that one, that they're not going to flip ESPN for Comcast, for Hulu. That's not happening.
100.
There's no way that's happening. They want the money. It's like, yeah, we have a valuation. We want the money. They're fighting over the money right now. They're not going to take that's like being asked for millions and like you come up with a bunch of beads and you're like, I swear these are magical beads and they're worth millions. It's like, yeah, no, like get bent, pay me the money.
there with what they could do.
And when one more bit of speculation here is this idea that perhaps, I guess one analyst floated that Apple could buy Disney. It sounds crazy, but on the other hand, they have this new VR headset. They have a deal with Disney to put content in there.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, the relationship between these two companies goes way back, all the way to Steve Jobs and Pixar. It's definitely speculation, but the idea is Apple doesn't need to make money on streaming the way that Disney does or any other media company does. They can use this exclusively owned content to drive more sales of very high margin hardware. They have deep pockets to spend on sports rights. There are all kinds of creative ideas you could think of using augmented reality at the theme parks. For the record, I don't think that Apple will buy Disney in its entirety, but it's just one more interesting possibility to watch from this company going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Apple almost never does big deals, so I think that one reason why it's a long shot. I think their biggest deal might have been buying Beats, like the headphone company.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very much like to grow internally and organically.
It would be out of character.
Like I said with Apple
Okay,
TV.
let's stop that there because that's
Like
about
I
the end
said,
of the clip.
just like
Yeah.
I said with Apple TV.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think about that? I mean, let's get your opinion on that. So let's talk about Apple for a second. Yeah, I do not think that's likely to happen. I think that's a long shot, but I mean, what's your speculation on Apple if that's
I think Bob's appearance in Cupertino to launch the VR headset. He was probably there greasing some palms, trying to see if a deal could happen or not. I think if Apple does it, it'll be a public service gesture. There was a time many years ago in business classes, you may have read about this, where Microsoft had problems and or Apple and Microsoft had to do a deal, and Microsoft came in and addressed Apple's cash flow problems. And so it was a case of two companies. You know, you had two fan bases of Apple and Windows who hated each other, and then poof, everybody got surprised when a deal was announced that Microsoft was making an investment, which Apple at the time desperately needed in order to survive. So here we are, find ourselves a few decades later, and it would be something similar to that. There's no reason Apple needs to do a deal or has to do a deal with Disney for any reason. They sure as hell don't want theme parks. They sure as hell don't want real estate. They sure as hell have no business running broadcast studios. Maybe there's some things that they could do. I mean, they don't need or want Disney Plus. I mean, literally, it would be
there's some components.
We've got some
components.
extra. We've got some extra cash. Let's just throw it over there for the hell of it, type of thing. I mean, there is no compelling business case for Apple to invest in Disney. Now, is there a compelling case for Bob? Yeah, Bob's running out of cash, and Bob, I think that what you say in your videos, and I think it's an Apple one, is pulling change out of the cushions or something like that.
Yes.
I think that's very apropos because if you look at some of the tax deductions and the things they've written down, they're trying to grab 50 million here, 150
and nickel
million
here, nickel there, and they're trying to find that money for the 99-cent menu. I remember back in the day, you get your nuggies at Wendy's. You're trying to dig out that last penny to get to 99, to get 107. You got to pay for tax, right?
Yep.
So you're paying 107, right? You're digging in the change. That's where it seems like they're doing. That's what Disney seemed like they're doing. And when you add it all up, you're like, yes, this is making sense. You're getting to the Hulu number. You're getting towards the Hulu numbers. RetroArch Studio says, look at his face. He doesn't believe anything coming from his own mouth. I'd bet good money that kid needs to pump so he can dump his shares without a loss. Listen, I'm not going to speculate on potential insider trading, but that being said, this guy was definitely, to me, that's all the shill points. So Bob Iger, the parks, and some speculation on the Marvels and an Apple buyout. That's what you got for me.
And this coming from Billy the Beta, who doesn't know how to tie his tie, gets his shirts at Marshalls, and even though he's on Fox, even though he's featured on Fox Business for 5 or 10 minutes, can't seem to remember to shave. Look, I'll shave if I'm going on Fox Business. I mean, that whole millennial scruffy look. I think he did that to make himself look. I think he did that to make himself look older.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. So there you guys have been destroyed by Mexican Iron Man here in the chat. And if you guys like this, you guys be having a mic on, smash the like button. We're at 399. Let's get to 450. I know we can get to 450 here as we're at 659 in the house today.
God, that was so frustrating to watch.
But you know what? It's so crazy that even after we can put out all of this, and I actually did think, Mike, I really did think, particularly after the work Valiant did, and all that we've been talking about has been going mainstream. People have been seeing it now, right? So I thought, okay, the tide is shifting, right? But you underestimate the fact that Disney owns and controls a lot of media and it has a lot of shills, and they have no scruples about using them and playing a war of distraction and media. We won the moment, we won the moment there, but they're trying to claw it back. And eventually they will, because they'll just put out enough. They'll just kind of pepper it out there to try to change the narrative. But I guess the earnings report is really where the rubber's going to meet the road, right?
Yeah, on August 9th, there will be an earnings call. Sadly, I'm not going to be able to cover it live because I'm going to be literally driving me and my 10-year-old up and down the state of Florida. I'll be listening to you cover the results with Valiant and Pro and other people. But yeah, August 9th, everybody, is the next earnings call. It's going to be epic. The last two have been incredibly entertaining, to put it mildly. And the clock's ticking for Bob. Bob may have gotten a contract extension, but I got two things to say about that. One is that it goes back to what you were saying, Andrew, in one of your other videos about the clock is ticking for that Hulu deal in January. They're in arbitration, and months are. I mean, we're already in August. After this weekend, we're in August, and then it's September, October, November, December, January. We're 5 months away from Hulu, Comcast, that they're supposed to have their deal worked out and their financing done. We've got 2 more earnings calls to make. And let's not forget that there was another Bob named Chapek who was renewed last summer, only to wake up and find himself a couple months later in November escorted out the door. Now, I don't think that could happen to someone like Bob Iger exactly like that, where he's going to be at a concert and voted out by the board. But if this stock languishes and it drops below $85 a share or doesn't start issuing some really good news, time is the enemy of Iger. Time is the enemy of Disney. Time will let all of their F-ups be exposed and rise to the top. And when all of that rises to the top and all that manure is floating, then Bob will have nowhere to go, and he won't be able to spin any more crap into silk.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, Brandon asks, when is the earnings call? Maybe I'll value the stock this week over time. Yeah, it is at August 9th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. So
Yes,
that's
sir.
3:30 in the morning here in Bangkok. But your boy will be up for that. I'm gonna get up for that one because I think this one should be a very interesting one. Market Reality says, is there going to be QA time with Bob again? Yes. I mean, they'll try to filter it, but I don't think they can do any better than last time because these questions, the hard questions, were coming from institutional actors. So I don't think they can hide from those people, can
Mark,
they?
the retail calls, like the individual investors, that only happens once a year at the investor shareholder meeting. These quarterly earnings calls are institutional investors. But I thought it was going to be boring, but shots were fired at the last one. Let's see what happens this time.
Yes. And then next we got from John Baca said, I spent 20 years in the trading floor knowing to ignore these twats like those in the segment. Yeah, you have to know when to just say, okay, this is not relevant. I'm just not going to listen to this guy. I mean, because there's too many people, too many talking heads out there. If you get caught in it, you're gonna get screwed. And then one over here from my good friend Ben SC on Locals for the $1 tip says, isn't Disney getting sued by some of their shareholders? Yes, they are being sued by their shareholders, but it's for the pre-Iger time. So they actually aren't suing for the time during Iger. So it's a very interesting one. I think it's one of those lawsuits seeking a settlement. So the intent is to settle this. The intent is to get money. So I think this is something that is going to end up settled. So I don't want to make too much out of that one, but I will stay on top of it. And I'll stay on top of all the lawsuits, the discrimination lawsuits, everything at the wrongful termination lawsuits.
Yeah, in that lawsuit, in that investor lawsuit, they were trying to find someone else that would take it up as a class action. That never happened. So it's still that pension fund is still the lead plaintiff.
Yeah. And somebody asked me to talk about Sound of Freedom. I already talked about that in a while, but I mean, it's doing great. It's fantastic. They tried to keep that movie down. And I mentioned this. This was something that they've gone. It's one of those things where Disney and mainstream media went out of their way to suppress something, and it's in their attempts to suppress it that it kind of outed themselves. So we'll just leave it at that. Just leave it at that. Oh, and guys, a little love here from Future Conflict. Andrew, we hung out in Future Conflict. Thank you for sending me over to their channel a year ago. Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure to support good channels. Go over there, subscribe to Mexican Iron Man. He's not a YouTuber, but he's on Midnight's Edge. He's on, helping out Valiant, WW Pro, all these guys. So go in and help them out there. And also on Twitter, you can give him a follow. But yes, definitely catch him on Midnight's Edge or helping Valiant get through 400 super chats. Because that's very
with
important.
the baseball bat.
Yeah. So that's what I got for tonight, guys. Listen, it's beer drinking time here, and it's beer drinking and booty time here in Bangkok. So I'm going to enjoy my nice evening here and not be a Billy the Beta. But if you want to not be a Billy the Beta, make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you stick around and subscribe to Midnight's Edge, his other channels. And I will be back live probably maybe tomorrow. If not, the next day I will have a live for you guys. That being said, guys, take care. Stay based. Mike, hang around for a second. We'll talk. And I will catch you later. Peace.